Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a late night insight video on a Les Indemodables fragrance called Oranger Sirocco from this year, just 2 or 3 months ago. 2024 came out. Perfumer is Antoine Lie, and I have made no qualms about the fact that I think Les Indemodables is one of the best niche houses in the game, especially these last couple of years. Their newer releases seem to have started to drift in a little different direction. So this review should not take that long, as I don't think this fragrance is the most complex creation. It's a beautiful fragrance, but I don't think it's the most complex creation. But first, we have a very quick unboxing from a brand new brand out of Dubai. They reached out to me and said, we'd love to send you a couple of our, well, they only have 2 fragrances out, so they sent me both of them. And I gave them the usual disclaimer, send it on, but I do positive and negative reviews, so just keep that in mind. I say good and bad things, and I'll give you my thoughts, and they said, sure, we're up for the challenge. So the house is called, literally, the House of 1984. Now in Parfumo, it's written as 1984. In Fragrantica, it's spelled out as like 1984. But the sticker shows 84, so maybe that, I don't know which way is the proper way. The one of the fragrances is made by Mark Buxton, and the other fragrance is made by the in-house, I guess you could call him like a owner of the brand slash perfume maker, and his name is, Shatha Al-Zabi. Sorry if I butchered that, sir, but Shatha Al-Zabi. They're a Dubai created house, if you will, owned house. And so this is their first fragrance called Ajna. And if you look, it's got Ben Franklin's eye right there. And so this fragrance, well, it actually has both of his eyes. So if you know all about the Benjamins, baby, then this fragrance is a fragrance that centers around money and cannabis. So maybe he likes making it rain. I don't know. He is in Dubai. But yeah, so Parfumo shows banknotes as a note listing. It's funny, I know Roja Dove did a fragrance for a charity or something that revolved around the scent of money, what the smell of the British pound smells like. So I actually I don't think I have any fragrances that revolve around the smell of money. So I'm interested in this. So Ajna is an extrait de parfum. I have no clue about pricing or anything like that. I do apologize. But I'm not going to open it because I'm not going to spray it. But I'm not going to spray it today because I want to focus on Oranger Sirocco. But you will be seeing some early impressions or first impression videos on these, and I'll give my thoughts, good, bad, or indifferent. Oh, there's the way it's written out, House of 1984. That's how it's written in Fragrantica, but Parfumo actually has it 1984. So, yeah, Parfumo has 1984. Anyways, so Ajna is, here, I'll read you the little thing on the back. It says, a sanctuary of freedom where perfumes are crafted anew, memories invoked, to be shared with the daring, the true, a place to reinvent, to reimagine, to interpret and recreate, a haven where fragrances stir and old memories resonate. So, okay, I guess maybe I should open this so I can show you guys the damn bottle. Let's see. I think the bottle has these little dots all over them. So I'm interesting that the fragrance, that the house's name is 1984, because the very first thing that comes to mind for me with 1984 is, of course, George Orwell's 1984, the thought police, the fact checkers. Well, we have modern day fact checkers. They had the thought police. And so, oh, okay, it's kind of a cool little presentation. So it opens up like this, and there's the bottle. Ajna, there's the bottle. And so it's interesting that they chose money as kind of their very first release, because I always think of the monetary system as like the control mechanism of the elites. Again, my 2 cents. And so the fact that they chose money as kind of their first thing. So, okay, here's the actual note listing, and it's a little different from what's listed. So the top says juniper, pink pepper, and freshly printed dollars. The heart says cannabis, tolu balsam, cypriol, vintage jasmine, and worn out dollars. So I guess the top is fresh. The mid dollars are in your pocket for a little bit, and they're all worn out. The base, Australian sandalwood, Indian Mysore. Is there real Mysore in here? Or is that just an accord? Sandalwood Absolute, Cedarwood Tobacco, Oud Malinau, Oud Maruki, excuse me, Oud Burmese and Oud Laos. I'm interested. You have my attention. You have my attention, sir. So the first one's Ajna. The second one is called, now this is the one that I believe Mark Buxton did, if I'm not mistaken. Well, anyways, I should say Parfumo has Mark Buxton listed as the creator. And this is called Monochrome. And I'm a big fan of Mark Buxton. I think his best work is Comme des Garçons 2-Man. At least that's one of my favorite Mark Buxton creations. But Monochrome is, let's see if I can even open this. Oh, God. I spent all day building a birthday gift for my daughter with my father. It was a beautiful day to spend with him and her, and we kind of celebrated her birthday a little bit early, but I am absolutely knackered. It's still in the high 90s here in Texas, so this one actually opens up a little differently, it looks like. So it opens up from the sides. This one's a little bit different. Interesting that their two boxes are both different, but there you go, Monochrome, and the bottle's different too. The bottle's totally different, so maybe it's not just a stock bottle that they're going to be using. So there's Monochrome. So Monochrome, interestingly enough, Monochrome also has a cannabis note listed. So I'll read you the note listing real quick for Monochrome. Monochrome says citrus notes, developer solution, which I'm guessing they're trying to say like somebody, you know, creating a photograph back in the day and like the developer solution for the old school photographs. That's my guess. Pepper, cannabis, celluloid, which I'm guessing is, I don't know, like literally a celluloid, like in a camera or something. Sweat, like a actual sweat on your skin accord. Atlas cedar, labdanum, musk, and vetiver. Mark Buxton's the perfumer. So okay, so we'll see. If you look right here, there's almost this holographic. You see how I'm kind of moving it right here? There's like this cannabis thing growing on top of the photograph. So, or maybe it's just a flower. Yeah. Either way. I like the concept, so it's kind of cool. Excited to see what the fragrances are actually like. So I have, and these are 50 ml bottles, so I have high hopes. So thanks for sending that my way, House of 1984. Okay, so let's get on to the star of the show today, which is Les Indemodables Oranger Sirocco. Now, as I said, Les Indemodables, one of the top niche houses as far as I'm concerned, and you know, I feel like Les Indemodables became one of the top niche houses for a couple of reasons. Number one, they use some amazing ingredients, some of the best ingredients in the world as far as like, you know, Remy's house, where they create the materials and they use these different ultrasound techniques to extract some of the notes and all this different stuff that they do. Cutting edge, you know, he's someone who is really into the materials. He did an entire, I think, materials section on Persolaise where they dive deep into each material and note and all this stuff. But then you have Antoine Lie, who I think is one of the best perfumers in the game, come in and just create this sort of amazing fragrance around these amazing materials. So you have great materials and then you have an amazing perfumer. And if you follow Rich, Mitch, and Jonathan, two of my closest frag buddies, you will know that both of them discussed Remy's other brand. So Les Indemodables has gotten a lot of traction in the last couple of years, I would say, okay? They've gotten a lot of traction. Many people in the fragrance game know who they are now. They're not underground anymore. They're not like a hidden secret anymore. But the fact that Remy owned a brand before Valerie started Les Indemodables is kind of still a little bit of a secret. They don't really promote that one as much, and that's called L'Atelier Français de Matières. Sorry to all my French listeners out there who are writhing in pain and covering their ears. But in a video that Rich Bitch did, I think Jonathan may have done a video on the topic as well, but they discussed that particular brand, and both of them said that that particular brand, L'Atelier Français de Matières, sorry, I have to say it again and again, their releases felt like they were really built just highlighting that very particular material, right? So obviously Les Indemodables has kind of continued down highlighting the particular ingredient route, okay? So like, for example, you buy patchouli noisette, they're going to send you like a little, with the purchase, they'll send you a little sample of the actual patchouli used. I don't know if they did the same thing with their new oud that they just released, but in Rose de Jamal, they sent the particular rose. And this one, Oranger Sirocco, they sent the orange blossom and they sent the cinnamon, Moroccan cinnamon extract that they ended up using in here. So the biggest difference for Les Indemodables for me is that the perfumes feel much more like finished products, whereas L'Atelier Français de Matières, from my understanding, are more unfinished perfumes. They're more really focusing and highlighting on that very particular material. For example, I think the one Rich Mitch did a video on was called Ambre Stone, which I would love to smell one day, but that's an ambergris based scent. And they said it really highlights ambergris as a material. Now, Les Indemodables has an ambergris highlight as well, and it's called Ambre Supreme. And I did a review on that one, and I do think that that is one of the best ambergris fragrances that you can buy in this situation where you can just go click buy, not like in a Riesler Dory where you have to, hope you can find a bottle when it first comes out. And if you don't have it, you got to pay double, triple, quadruple on the secondary market, right? I mean, Atlantic ambergris and some of those other stuff, I would urge you to sniff if you're really into ambergris, but one where you can just go click buy without worrying about, how there's only 200 bottles for the whole world or whatever it is, right? So Ambre Stone is one such example from this L'Atelier Français de Matières brand, right? Oranger Sirocco from Les Indemodables, to me, the first thing that popped into my head is that this feels like it belongs not in a Les Indemodables casing. It feels like it belongs in the L'Atelier Français de Matières lineup instead of Les Indemodables, if that makes sense. So don't get me wrong. This is an absolutely beautiful orange blossom. Gorgeous. And the note listing is only 3 notes, okay? There's Moroccan Orange Blossom Absolute. There's Moroccan Petit Grand. Those are the 2 stars of the show. And then there's Laotian Cinnamon, which is a very small percentage. I think the the Orange Blossom Flower Absolute from Morocco makes up 3%. Petit Grand Oil Morocco makes up 2.4%, and then the Royal Cinnamon Laos Extract Grand Cru makes up 0.6%. Says maturation 1 week, maceration 2 weeks. Okay, so I think that they use the Absolute, which is the heavier version, if you will. So it's a little bit heavier, it's a little bit richer, it showcases the material better, in my opinion. So well, in fact, that one of my good friends, a longtime fragrance brother, Arnold, who, if you go back and watch some of my early impressions on the channel, for example, if you watched my early impression of Vetiver Extraordinaire, if you watched my early impression video of Comme des Garçons Black, if you watched my comparison video between the newer bottles of Furio and the vintage sample I was working off of, those samples all came from Arnold. But he recently reached out to me and he said, "Hey, Ramsey, I'm looking for examples of a reference orange blossom." And before I smelled this, right, because I had smelled this when he sent me that email, but I said, before, if you would have sent this to me a week or 2 ago, before I smelled this, I would have just told you there's only one. There's one at the top of the list, and that is Serge Lutens Fleurs d'Oranger. This is like the all-time classic orange blossom fragrance. But now that this has been released, I could put this up there with Fleurs d'Oranger as far as like a reference orange blossom, right? This is a absolute reference orange blossom. So I told him to check out both. I said, check out the Serge Lutens and check out the Les Indemodables. That's how well this is made, okay? The orange blossom note is beautiful. It highlights every single aspect of orange blossom and the bitter orange tree that you could ask for, right? Nothing is left out. And the ingredients are complete top-notch. All 3 materials, neroli, orange blossom, and Petit Grand, come from this particular tree, this bitter orange tree. It's just the way that they're extracted that makes them different. So I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe neroli is extracted using steam distillation, and orange blossom is usually extracted using solvents, okay? Neroli is also usually much greener, so it's like a bitter green. And because this, you notice there was no neroli note that was listed. And so because this lacks, Oranger Sirocco lacks this neroli note, you don't get the bitter aspect here, but you do get everything else from the bitter orange tree. In fact, the first word that kind of jumped into my head when I first got a chance to experience Oranger Sirocco is floral. So this is a white floral fragrance, I would say, first and foremost, okay? And what's so interesting about it, actually, I'm going to do a fresh spray. Some people said I need to try to spray more on camera. So here you go. We'll do 2 more sprays here and save the rest of this. Maybe I'll wear this as my scent of the day one day. And so, yeah, I mean, very first thing that pops into my head is this, is the white floral aspect. Now, sometimes with orange blossom, it's very strange. Sometimes from the bitter orange tree, you get bits and pieces that will come across as smelling slightly purple, like almost like grape cola or something. This straddles that line. It goes a little bit into that grape cola side of things for me. Not as much as something like Dunhill's Icon, but it does go a little bit into that grape cola side of things. But really what makes it interesting is it straddles the line between this very clean and dirty white floral. So it kind of brings in indolic aspects and the cleaner, soapier aspects. So for folks who like this, if you're someone who says, man, this is a fragrance, this is like one of the best fragrances Les Indemodables has ever released, you know, if you're that guy or girl, you are going to have to love the depth of the orange blossom note, because really there's not a lot else going on, in my opinion. I mean, there is the Petit Grain, but that comes from the same bitter orange tree. And there's the cinnamon. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Now, I think that's maybe a little bit naive to claim that's it. I think there's probably some citruses in here. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some bergamot, maybe some orange even. I wouldn't be surprised if Antoine Lie has some citruses. Why they didn't put them in the note listing, I have no idea. But outside of the citruses, which are definitely there, or I would think they're there. I shouldn't say definitely because I don't know, but my 2 cents are they're probably there. Outside of the citruses there, and probably some ingredients in the base that are potentially not listed, I don't think there really is much else going on here. So the main notes are going to be the Orange Blossom Absolute and the Petit Grain. And Petit Grain is also extracted from the bitter orange tree, but it's more the leaves and twigs and stems and sticks of the tree. And it also uses steam distillation, and it can come across as smelling slightly tart, oily, bitter, and woody would be kind of how you could describe it, with a slight hint of green, but nowhere near as green or bitter as Neroli, I don't think. So when you combine the two, the floral orange blossom, the oily Petit Grain, and sort of the bitter orange tree ingredients, if you will, they come across as having this like almost like a lathered soapiness. Like imagine kind of taking your hands and taking a bar of soap and kind of rubbing it together until you get that lather, right? There's that contrast in this fragrance between the dirty, the indolic aspects of the white floral and the sort of cleaner, soapier aspects. Imagine the lathered soap, right? So that's the contrast, and that's why I said you have to love Orange Blossom. You know, this does exactly what it says on the tin. It also has this very strange undertone of leather, and which I love. I love that. I love when, you know, Orange Blossom is used in a way where you get that undertone of leather. And but of course the focus, the main course, if you will, is on that white floral blossom smell from the orange blossom tree. I really like the undercurrent of leather, and you know, I think it proves that this is a very high quality orange blossom that they're using, and obviously in respectable quantities. Now, I don't want to give the impression that all you get is orange blossom, because the brand, I think, wants the complementary cinnamon to try to come out a little bit. Maybe even they wanted it to come out more than it actually did, because I don't get very much of it. It's there, but I don't get very much. It's used in a very small quantity, and I think I know why. I think they're worried it would overshadow, you know, the orange blossom itself, which they wanted to be the star of the show. But they want you to think of the orange blossom mixing with the cinnamon as having this very warm, sort of shimmering aspect, okay? So here, instead of me describing it, let me read you the blurb from Les Indemodables. So, and of course I didn't bring my water, so there will be no water break today. But here's the little write-up. They call it Orange Blossom Spicy. So, Oranger Sirocco was born out of a desire to imagine an olfactory landmark, a sensory compass that is both bright and joyful. This eau de parfum embodies a return to simpler values, presents itself as an ode to life, and aims to be somewhat contemplative. From the first notes, the mind is carried away by a warm, shimmering wind of sand. On the other side of the Mediterranean, in the heart of an orange blossom grove, with closed eyes, scents and sounds intertwine, the powerful and intoxicating fragrance of orange blossoms echoing the distant hustle and bustle of a silk, where the aroma of spices mixes in waves, saturating the regular breath of the Sirocco. Okay, so there's their little write-up. I already read you the percentages used. Interestingly enough, if you're like me, who is a Texan and is completely unaware of what the hell a Sirocco is, it is apparently a hot wind, often dusty or rainy, blowing from North Africa across the Mediterranean to southern Europe. So I guess if you're in Africa or Europe, you know what the hell a Sirocco is, but I had no clue. And so it's a hot wind. So imagine sandy, windy, carrying this orange blossom scent on the wind. They talked about being in an orange blossom grove, and I could totally see that whole being in an orange blossom grove. The realism of this fragrance is unbelievable. That's the part that it wins. Okay, so the image I imagine the brand wants you to think about would be this lone orange blossom tree growing in some sandy cave somewhere in North Africa where it shouldn't be growing, in the desert or something. And the brand sponsored imagery shows like a bottle surrounded by like swirling sand and like this cave enclosure, and so I imagine they're trying to say the sand, the Sirocco brings this orange blossom smell along with the warmth and sandy cinnamon like, sand smell. So I'm utterly torn on the scent, to be honest with you, because on one hand, I really like it. I think it's instantly a reference orange blossom fragrance for someone who wants to learn and study and understand orange blossom and the bitter orange tree as a whole. Okay. But on the other hand, I don't really think that you need both Fleur d'Oranger from Serge Lutens and Les Indemodables Oranger Sirocco in your collection unless you are just a huge orange blossom fan, in my opinion. I don't think you need both. I think they're redundant, personally. Now, you could easily make the case, well, they go in totally different directions, and that is, I wouldn't say totally different directions, but they do different things. But for me, I think I would wear them when I was in the same mood. I think it's a little redundant for my collection in the way that I think of Orange Blossom. Orange Blossom is not one of those scents that I'm like, oh man, I really am looking forward to wearing my Orange Blossom scent today. Not very often does that happen, I'll tell you that. So I would like to wear this on like a spring or summer day. I like to wear these type of fragrances in the heat. So for me, Oranger Sirocco would be a pass. Because of the fact I already had Fleur d'Oranger. Now, I will say this. If I did not have this in the collection, would I buy this? Potentially. That is a potential. Would I buy it with this in the collection? No, I would not. I think it's a little bit redundant. Now, the downsides of Fleurs d'Oranger, Oranger Sirocco. The downsides. There's been some speculation that there is this designer-like undersmell in this fragrance that kind of puts some people off, right? In fact, some people smelled it and said, nope, no way, this has this designer thing, no way would I ever wear this. Now, doesn't bother me. Actually, it doesn't bother me at all. But I can see what they're saying. I think there was something in here that Antoine Lie and the brand decided to use. Maybe it was ambroxan. Maybe it was some combination of notes that's not listed that reminds people of something they've smelled, like at their local Macy's counter or something like that. Something will remind you of a little bit more designer-like sense. Let's put it that way. Something that maybe you wouldn't expect from Les Indemodables, okay? If they did use ambroxan, personally, I'm okay with that, but I would have rather them also use some actual ambergris and maybe up the price a little bit and put it in their little note breakdown, because their ambergris is so special, especially in Ambre Supreme, and I mentioned Ambre Stone and stuff like that. I reviewed Ambre Supreme on the channel if you want to check out my review. So that's the downside, one downside. The other downside I can think of is that it's just not a very complex scent. It's a very ingredient-focused scent. That's why I said I think it belongs in the other collection that Remy and Valerie own, rather than Les Indemodables. Personally, that's just my 2 cents. Now, but on the other hand, like I said, that's why I say I'm torn, because I smell this and I think, man, if somebody just came to me and said, Ramsey, I want to explore Orange Blossom, I mean, here you go. Here it is. So, you know, these two, there you go. I mean, you're not going to, you could dig and dig and dig and look and look and look, and you are not going to find, I don't think, two better fragrances to study Orange Blossom than these two. So, you know, that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is, it's just, I wish it did more, but I understand it's very hard to do more, because once you start doing more, like let's say Antoine Lie starts adding patchouli and, you know, all these other heavier notes in here, it's going to overshadow the Orange Blossom. Hands down it will. So I completely understand why they left it so basic. And it's beautiful. You know, it is a beautiful, it's a beautiful smell, and it lasts. That's the other thing. I've tested this now 3 times, and every single time I get amazing longevity, almost to the point where I can smell it the next day when I wake up. And that's why I said maybe there's some sort of a designer ambroxan thing being used to boost it. But the Orange Blossom note and everything, don't think because I'm saying it's designer it smells cheap. It doesn't. Especially not the note that it's highlighting. But there is something about this that I can see where people are coming from with the whole designer side. So anyways, that's my thoughts. Excited to try the House of 1984. Glad I was able to review another of what I consider to be one of the best niche houses doing it right now. More to come, because I have the entire sample set now. So thank you to my perfume god person that sent this my way, by the way. You know who you are. So appreciate everyone watching as always. Cheers, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.